I know this is going to be an unpopular opinion, but I really don't think getting a Birkin or a Kelly or a quota bag should be a goal for your next birthday, anniversary, or push present. But just hear me out. Hello and welcome to A Briefcase of Luxury, a place to learn about mindful luxury consumption. Now I feel like I need to preface this video by saying I have absolutely nothing against people who go all out for their birthdays or anniversaries. We often see giant hauls here on YouTube where people go on these huge shopping sprees as a way to celebrate, I don't know, being alive for another year, or surviving their relationship for another year, or successfully birthing a child. Those are our favorite videos, right? Now, especially in the world of Hermes, these milestone events become manipulation tactics to try to secure quota bags. We often hear of stories of people reminding their essays that their birthdays or anniversaries are coming up soon, or surprise, their due date got bumped up, all in attempts to try to secure a quota bag by a certain date. They stress how much it would mean to them if their essays could make their wish come true with their dream bags so they can properly commemorate the occasion, and it wouldn't be the same without it. Now, ignore the irony that I decided to put out my Birkin for eye candy. Please don't get me wrong. I want you to celebrate your important life milestones the way you feel best represents the occasion. But I want to explain why in my household, we don't celebrate milestones or holidays with gifts in general, let alone really expensive ones. Now hear me out. This is not some sort of righteous, holier-than-thou moment to shame anyone. If you've seen my other videos, then you know I am guilty of overspending and impulsive shopping for luxury items, especially handbags. And in my case, I don't seem to need a reason, like a certain milestone date or holiday, as an excuse to shop and fuel that behavior even further. I seem to do just fine on my own. Exhibit A. I dropped the money for the Birkin on a random Tuesday afternoon after work. No occasion necessary, besides the fact that I just really wanted it. And it wasn't like it was chump change for our family either. That was the most money I've ever spent on a bag. Ever. I want to share with you the gradual shift in perspective I've had about luxury consumption, especially as a means to celebrate an occasion, or even more generally to treat or reward or even console myself. And it just stems from wanting to untether material items from occasions that cannot and should not be measured by any material means. Now, specifically when it comes to quota bags from places like Hermes, I can understand wanting something like a Birkin for a birthday present, because who wouldn't want to be gifted a Birkin, right? But we've really gotten into this rhythm in modern society of buying birthday presents for ourselves. But literally in the past, you received presents from others congratulating you for surviving another year through childhood, because that just wasn't guaranteed back in the days. We're way past that in our society, so buying gifts for someone else's birthday is a type of love language, right? It's a way to show that we care about someone enough to spend our own hard-earned money and take the time and the effort to find something that we think they would like. But honestly, nowadays, we seem to spend the most money on buying gifts for ourselves. I mean, compare the gifts you buy for yourself on your birthday compared to gifts that other people have given you. Chances are, the gifts that you've gotten yourself are going to be more expensive most of the time. Now, granted, a quota bag is a hard ask to ask from someone else to gift to you, even if it is your significant other. But why do we need to buy ourselves presents to celebrate our own birthdays? Again, I know people claim it's a type of love language directed at self-love or self-care or self-celebration. But I think it can be dangerous and unhealthy to say, hey, I love you, self. You deserve something expensive and rare for this occasion. Again, you are tethering material items to something that cannot, or honestly should not, be measured by material means. Now, the other two type of milestone occasions make even less sense to me, and maybe I'm just the one who doesn't get it. So someone explain it to me if you disagree or if I'm missing the big picture. But I often hear stories of people asking for quota bags as anniversary presents or push presents for themselves. First, it's one thing if your significant other is trying to buy an anniversary present for you. It's another to want to buy an anniversary present for yourself. Why? I mean, are you both going to share the Birkin bag? Or every time you look at the Birkin, are you going to be reminded of your love for your partner? Or is he buying himself something of equal value that he will look at and be reminded of you? Or a Birkin as a push present to congratulate yourself for giving birth? Same question when you look at the Birkin, are you reminded, oh yeah, I now have a child, or I've spent 9 months carrying a child? I don't mean this to be disrespectful or condescending, but I really am curious to know, for those of you who have gone that route, what was the reason you felt like this type of purchase was what was needed to round out the occasion? Again, I know this is an unpopular opinion, and I know that this way of thinking really isn't the norm. Retailers, such as jewelers, for instance, heavily rely on people making purchases to mark special occasions. And the main marketing message is, if you really love someone, you don't skimp on the price tag. The more expensive, the greater the show of love. And you can also argue that, well, your husband buys you jewelry to commemorate special occasions and he's not the one wearing it. Or that your spouse may not have a profile with Hermes, so they can't be the one to ask for the Birkin and you have to do it on their behalf. But why is this necessary to begin with? Let me phrase it this way instead. Will the occasion without the Birkin or the quota bag mean any less? If you weren't able to get it for your birthday, anniversary, or a push present, does that then in turn negatively affect the milestone for you? And you can replace the Birkin with anything that you are wanting. That's just my weakness at the moment. For me, this conscious act of untethering material items from occasions that cannot be measured by any material means goes against every single marketing ploy that exists today. But such is the material world we live in, where if you don't receive presents, you may feel less loved or wanted. Or if the present is not of economic value, then again, it may represent you're not that special either. And this may just be me personally and just where I am in my journey, but for me, I feel it leads me down a dangerous path to set up expectations of treating or rewarding myself with material items, because it shapes the way I interact with my material wants and desires, how I ultimately view my self-worth. But what if I was able to enjoy the milestone or occasion simply for what it is, free of any materialistic distractions? People have always found it so weird that we stopped doing presents in my home. My husband and I don't exchange gifts, whether it's Christmas, birthdays, anniversaries, or Valentine's, but it wasn't always that way, okay? We've been together for over a decade, and I've gotten my share of jewelry, roses, giant stuffed teddy bears, you name it, back in our early years. But you know the very cheesy but true saying that every day is a gift? Well, it really is true, and one thing we've gotten really good at in our relationship is just acknowledging each other on a daily basis, even when there's nothing special to celebrate. And in many ways, our family is truly blessed because there is nothing material that I actually need. I have a roof over my head, I have food in my pantry, a car to get me to work, a job I enjoy, clothes and shoes and bags in my closet in abundance. All that's left is just stuff that I want. And as I've mentioned before, there's no such thing as a luxury necessity. And over the years, I've really worked on shifting the way I view and approach luxury items in terms of what I want to round out my collection, in terms of why I want certain items, and in regards to this topic in particular, of why I no longer aim to acquire these items by or for certain dates. Because I do want to untether any extra significance to material items, if at all possible. Now, don't get me wrong either. I love my bags. Now, if we're to get technical, love is an exaggeration, but you get what I mean. I really appreciate what I have. But honestly, none of them were bought for a special occasion. If anything, they were bought on impulse, like I mentioned. You could argue that maybe if I limited my shopping to just milestone events, those 2 to 3 times a year, then maybe I can better control my impulsive spending. True, but at the same time, it would still be the act of tethering material items to something that I don't want to or shouldn't want to measure by material means. As expensive and rare and as hard as it is to get a Birkin, that's not what represents my relationships or the value of my own life. And so even if there is an opportunity for me to get something for myself to mark those occasions, I've made a really conscious effort not to, because at the end of the day, as much as I enjoy and appreciate my collection, they are just material items that I'm not going to be able to hang on to forever. But the people I get to celebrate those occasions and milestones with, being wholly present in that moment, that's a much bigger deal, and that's the best present of all. So not to say we don't celebrate, we've invested a lot more in experiences instead, such as traveling and creating new memories, which can be equally expensive. So again, please don't take this as a self-righteous message to put anyone down. My husband and I were actually chatting about this, and we noticed that we would do the same thing with food and with eating out, for instance. We would use eating out as a reward or as a treat yourself night, or we would use food to console ourselves when we were stressed or sad. only because the rest of the time we have a pretty healthy but restricted diet. So that can create really unhealthy eating habits, and you can create these psychological expectations that, hey, I deserve to be rewarded with food, or that I can console myself with food. And that's the whole concept of cheat meals, right? But cheat meals can quickly get out of control when it becomes a psychological phenomenon rather than a way for you to reset your metabolism. I know that's a little off tangent, but I hope you get what I mean. And maybe certain people are more prone to these types of behaviors than others, and I'm just one of those lucky people. I did that with shopping too. I shopped as a way to reward or to treat myself, or I shopped as a way to console myself, and I created these habits and expectations that I deserve to shop because I did something right or because I'm feeling sad. And that created an unhealthy relationship with shopping. Now, I'm not going to stop buying luxury items, but I really am working to recognize these items simply for what they are. Luxury items to enjoy, but nothing to measure the value of my life here on earth. And so instead of saying for my next birthday or for our next anniversary, I really want this or I really want to buy this, removing any material expectations from that conversation actually does shift the entire tone of how we approach these events if we knew material gifts were off the table. Do you know what I mean? I hope this message resonates with some of you, especially around the biggest gift-giving time of the year. Life is measured by more than what we own and what we can gift ourselves. So to diminish those occasions down to a material item that we're lusting after, in my mind, can just cheapen the significance of the occasion itself. Even if it is something as expensive and as economically valuable as a Birkin. I know there are many of you who will probably disagree with me and have your own take on self-gift giving, and I'd love to know the reasons why. I'm personally continually growing and changing and questioning my views on consumption myself, so please let me know if I'm missing something. I'm never afraid to admit that I'm wrong or need to reconsider my position. If anything, maybe some of you will interpret my message in another way completely, which is, apparently I don't need to give myself a reason to want to buy a Birkin. Any day is a good enough Birkin buying day for me. If you are like me and you are on this journey to becoming a more mindful luxury consumer and you find this content helpful, please consider liking this video or subscribing to this channel or tapping the notification bell so we don't have to go through this journey alone. I'll see you next time.